You see, something is going to happen. Something wonderful.
My God, it's full of stars.
Hey everyone, welcome to the NY Patriot Show. Today I'm just putting out, I guess kind of like a true crime thing, something that I have come upon today that I thought was a pretty weird, crazy sounding, I guess, true crime and unfortunate, but it just seemed weird to me, and I thought it was kind of interesting how I really haven't heard anything about this except from like just a few sites, and it wasn't like, this I think goes back to a few days. So it's been a few days now, and I really haven't heard much of it. I mean, I think, Teresa, when I even sent it to you, you were like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, first time hearing about it.
Yeah, so, and it's just some wild stuff. So I figured I would just kind of like, go over the crime and like the last few hours of like updated stuff that has, come through in the news. The article is Slumber Party Massacre, the latest. Sex offenders victim speaks out as 7 bodies found on Oklahoma property. Horrifying new details have come to light about the mass killing at the Oklahoma home of a convicted rapist. Authorities said on Wednesday that Jesse McFadden shot his 6 victims in the head before staging the grisly scene on his rural property and then turning the gun on himself. 7 bodies were discovered at the property on Monday during a frantic search for 2 teenagers who failed to return home from a slumber party with a friend. 7 bodies were discovered at the property Monday during a frantic search for 2 teenagers who failed to return home from a slumber party with a friend. The victims were identified as McFadden's wife, Holly Guess, 35, her children, Riley Elizabeth Allen, 17, Michael James Mayo, 15, and Tiffany Dorr Guess, 13, as well as 2 other teenagers, Ivy Webster, who was 14, and Brittany Brewer, who was 15, both of whom were friends with Guess's children. All 6 had suffered between 1 and 3 gunshot wounds in their head. Okmulgee Police Chief Joe Prentice revealed on Wednesday, as he said that they were all murdered by McFadden with a handgun bought by Guess in 2022. McFadden, who was on the state's sex offender registry, was previously convicted of first-degree rape in 2003. He was due in court on new child porn charges on Monday when the bodies were discovered.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wild, honestly. When you sent this to me earlier today, I was like, wow, I already was apprehensive about sending my kids for sleepovers. And I was like, never will they go on a sleepover unless it's at my house. Like, if the parents are cool with their kids coming to my house, fine, because I know I'm not a psychopath. But, like, you just never know. Right? As we're going to see, I think, in the article, that these parents had no idea, like, about what this guy was up to.
And what's crazy is that, like, I mean, I guess, like some, I guess maybe sometimes some people aren't being too paranoid when they go run people's names. But, like, what's sad is that I'm sure if you would have Googled this guy's name, he would have came up because he's a registered sex offender.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good idea. Parenting tip, right? Always Google your friends' parents' names. Oh my God, your kids' parents' names.
Yeah, before a sleepover.
Yeah, see if there's any breaking news on them from the past. Holy shit. Yeah. All right, so continuing on with the story. Questions continue to mount as to why Jesse McFadden was freed from prison to carry out the horror attack. McFadden was convicted of first-degree rape in 2003 before being released in 2020. That's recent. Yeah. However, during the time behind bars, he was hit with new charges of soliciting sexual conduct with a minor and possession. Oh my God, I can't read. Possession of child pornography. That's crazy. McFadden had allegedly exchanged nude photos and videos with an underage girl from behind bars. Despite the charges, he was released in 2020. He was due in court Monday morning for the start of his trial on those particular charges. Lee Berlin, a Tulsa-based defense attorney, told the Associated Press that there was a panoply of errors in the McFadden case. Panoply? I've never heard that word before.
Yeah.
Panoply. That's a fun one. I gotta look that up.
Panopoly.
Panopoly. Well, got pan in there, so I don't know. I'm a sex crimes defense attorney. This is all I do all day, every day. And I'm like, how the hell does that happen? He asked. So apparently this one slipped through the cracks quite a bit.
And that is wild, like, even behind bars. The mother and grandmother of the shooting victims have spoken out about the control Jesse McFadden had over her daughter. Guess's mother, Janet Mayo, told KJRH that Guess had moved from Westville to Henrietta with McFadden and that he was controlling of her. He was the one telling Holly where she could go, who she could talk to. If we took one of the kids, he would track their cell phone, she said.
Wow.
She said that she only learned of McFadden's past crimes a few months ago and tried to tell her daughter. But she said that McFadden fed her a ton of lies about what had happened.
Wow. So heavy manipulator.
Yeah.
Man. So an Oklahoma convicted rapist, that's McFadden in the case, texted his alleged soliciting victim the night before the 7 bodies were found on his property. The Oklahoma State of Bureau Investigations, the OSBI, announced on Monday that 7 bodies were found at the Henrietta property of 39-year-old Jesse McFadden. So he's also quite young. He's my age. That's creepy. The gruesome discovery was made after 2 teens went missing in the area on Sunday. McFadden, who was on the sex offender registry, failed to show up in court Monday morning to stand trial on the charges of soliciting sexual conduct with a minor and possession of child pornography. The victim in that case has since revealed that McFadden reportedly texted her the night before authorities found the 7 victims. I did exactly what I promised I would do when I got out, the text exclusively obtained by Fox 23 read. I got a marketing job making great money and was being advanced. Been there 2 years now and made a great life like I promised you I would do with you. Whoa. Now it's all gone. I told you I wouldn't go back. This is all on you for continuing this, another set of texts stated.
Whoa.
So he had made promises to this girl like while he was in prison. The Henrietta Public Schools released a statement saying that it is grieving over the tragedy of the loss of several of our students. Our hearts are hurting, and we have considered what would be best for our students in the coming days, the school system said. Classes will still take place, but mental health services are available to students. We understand if you feel it is more appropriate to keep your student at home. Please continue to keep these families in your thoughts and prayers.
Authorities began a search after McFadden failed to appear at his long-delayed jury trial on Monday in Muskogee County. His body was later discovered along with his wife, her son, and daughters, and 2 other teens who were visiting the family over the weekend. Now, family members of the victims are asking why McFadden, sentenced to 20 years in 2003 for first-degree rape, was freed 3 years early, in part for good behavior, despite facing new charges that he used a contraband cell phone to trade nude photos with the young woman in 2016. He was released in 2020 after 16 years and 9 months, even though the charges could send him back to prison for many years if convicted.
So 2 teenage missing girls have been found dead in the house in Oklahoma with their suspected abductor and 4 other people, the authorities were saying. So the 2 other victims, Brittany Brewer, who was 15, and Ivy Webster, who was 14, were named in an Amber Alert on Monday morning after disappearing while in the company of Jesse McFadden, the convicted rapist. So according to local broadcasters, the girls had gone to spend the weekend with Jesse McFadden. Brittany's father said that had happened many times before without any incident. Ivy's father, Justin Webster, said he filed a missing person report with the local sheriff's office when she didn't return home Sunday night after spending the weekend with the McFaddens, Holly Guess, and their 3 children. Mr. Webster said he thought that the children went with McFadden to spend some time on a ranch where he was working near McAllister. He said law enforcement officials also told him that all of the victims suffered gunshot wounds, that some had been lined up and were located across the property. Mr. Webster described McFadden as controlling and unusual, but said he had no idea about his criminal background. I would say he was weird, Mr. Webster said. He was always getting into his kids' phones and reading all their snap messages and all that. It wasn't in a way of a concerned parent. It was more of keeping tabs on the kids. McFadden had also been scheduled to appear for those other sexual misconduct and child pornography charges on Monday. He was communicating with that 16-year-old girl when he was in prison near Muskogee. How did you say that before?
Muskogee.
Muskogee. I think. Right? Good guess. The teen's grandfather reported their communications to prison officials, according to an affidavit from the Department of Corrections. Webster hopes the entire ordeal leads to harsher criminal penalties for sex offenders, especially those who target children. The sexual offender registry doesn't work, he said. I think there needs to be action taken, there needs to be repercussions, and someone needs to be held accountable. They let a monster out. They did this.
McFadden, who was on the state's sex offender registry, was previously convicted of first-degree rape in 2003. The victim in that attack, 35-year-old Crystal Strong, told Fox News in an exclusive interview that she was told guests had recently found out McFadden was allegedly molesting one of her children. Holly's ex told me he thinks that Holly found out that McFadden might have been molesting one of the kids, and he just flipped, Mrs. Strong told the network. Just hours before the gruesome discovery on Monday, McFadden texted his alleged victim in the pending trial, seemingly attempting to blame her for how the tragedy unfolded, according to the text, and like the stuff we read before.
All right, so just some other information that came up from another article that I just found online. So this is from nybreaking.com. It says, parents of teen killed by Jesse McFadden say he texted them as if he were her as she lay dead. That's a little bit shocking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just paraphrase from here. But Ivy's father, one of the victims, Justin Webster, said all the victims suffered gunshot wounds and some were lined up and scattered around the property. In an emotional interview this morning, Ivy's parents suggested that McFadden impersonated their daughter via text message after killing her. Ivy's mom, Ashley Webster, explained how she talked to her daughter on Snapchat late Saturday night, but when she received a message from her the next morning, something didn't feel right. I got a message the next morning, Sunday morning, that it was her phone, but I don't believe it came from her anymore, saying they were going to McAllister and she would be home later, she told News Nation. Mr. Webster added, we think Jesse wrote that and probably had already happened at that point. Speaking about why they were concerned, Ms. Webster added, the way Ivy is, she's my best friend. She's constantly saying, Mom, I love you. Okay, Mom, let's eat. Okay, Mom, we're done with food. Okay, Mom, we're doing this now. She lets me know everything. This message was kind of like, okay, we're going to McAllister. See you around 5. It was just different, but I didn't think about it because maybe they were in a rush. Officials discovered the 7 bodies on the grounds around 3 p.m. In the rural town of Henrietta. The grim discovery in Oklahoma keeps the U.S. on track for mass killings in 2023 and could push the number of people killed in mass killings to over 100, according to the database maintained by the Associated Press and USA Today in collaboration with Northeastern University.
You know, I mean, I have heard plenty of times that they say like this is like kind of like an addiction that's like almost like impossible to get rid of. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that the guy was still doing it when he was in prison, and I mean, listen, when I was in federal prison, I was surrounded by enough of these people, and a lot of them were not like, you just know they weren't stopping, probably. Some of them would like even like have like things that they would trade. Like it wouldn't be actual porn, but it could be like as creepy as this sounds, like clothing magazines, but like the parts that are showing the kids, like Macy's, J.C. Penney's, shit
Yeah,
like
catalogs
that.
and stuff.
Catalogs. There was one dude that I was in there with that every like fucking month or two, the CEOs would just go in there and fucking trash his room because this kid would just hang up these pictures of these kids, like out of these magazines. Like, you know how a normal dude would have like, you know, like an older woman, you know, you know, in their fucking gym, you know, their jail locker. Well, they have like these things in there. And it's like they'd wait for him to like build it up and then they'd go in there and like wreck his room and throw him in the fucking hole.
Wow.
Yeah. That was like the
That's
only time
wild.
I was like thinking the CEOs are actually like, you know, being cool.
Right.
Yeah. But like, it was just, yeah. I mean, so from my experience, and I'm not saying it's, you know, 100% true, but it did seem like something that like, you know, I saw people that were in there for like a long time, you know, 10, 15, 20 years. And like, they obviously like still think, you know, they're not changing their ways even when they're locked up for that long.
No. Yeah, because clearly, like, even in the article, it mentions one of his previous victims, that lady, Crystal Strong. So now in 2023, she's 35. But at the time of the first degree rape was 2003. So she would have been 15 when that happened. And the girl he was texting in jail, I think they mentioned she was 16. She was a minor, for sure. Yeah. And then his stepchildren, teenagers, and then it seems they have one child together, the wife who died or was murdered, and then the youngest child had the same last name as him, so it could be theirs together.
And what I don't understand, and I think they even, you know, I think maybe this is what they were getting at when they mentioned it also, you know, if a crime like that, and especially when you've done that much time in prison, I mean, you're going to, if this was a federal crime, you're probably going to get slapped with like 5 years at least of like probation when you get out as well.
Yeah.
And leaving the state, you still normally have like somebody looking over you for a little bit. I mean, unless this guy got off of that relatively early, you know, this may not have been a federal crime. It could have been a state crime. So I don't know how long that stuff goes with. But I'm thinking more of like federally, like, you more than likely would have still have had somebody watching over you. And as soon as you got hit with another one of those crimes, your ass would have gotten tossed back into the feds.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't like, you know, unfortunately, I don't know, I guess, as much if the guy was still on supervised release. Was he not? But it's just like, how is this guy not already put back in after he was just released and was also facing a new charge? That was right.
Yeah, like, wouldn't that just like reactivate the whole legal process all over again? Like, why is he being released?
It should be like, I guess 20 years wasn't long enough. Get back in.
Right. Like, clearly you did not learn anything in your time here. Sorry, just wanted to correct myself. None of the children's names match his last name. So maybe they did not have a child together. I'm not sure if any of those children were his or not. Yeah. Just wanted to clarify. Sorry. Saying incorrect information. I don't know why I thought one of them was, but they're all teenagers. So, I mean, that would make more sense if his wife sort of discovered something that was going on that she was not previously aware of, and she obviously would be upset. And that would be a motive for him to, you know, go
and do what he
trigger
did.
happy.
Yeah, like
why with other people around? Like, why with those guests in the house? Like, was this the right time to do that? Like, what? I don't know what the other two children have to do with it, or they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Listen, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, if somebody's going to go take themselves out, are they worried that much, like what people are going to think?
Yeah, they don't care probably.
Well, or, you know, maybe they do care and like that, like, or maybe like everybody knowing it's going to kill me. So like, whatever. But like, I'm wondering, could that have been for all you know, did he do it to those kids as well?
Yeah, maybe. He was abusing them too. Who
And
knows,
if
right?
I take care of them, they can't go tell anybody else after I'm dead that I molested them as well.
Right. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, that's why I'm just as harsh reality would say it, I'm just spitballing here. You know?
Right. We really don't know, of course.
Yeah.
It's speculation.
But I do think it's interesting how you were asking that original question in the beginning, and we did kind of like get some ideas. Like the kids, I don't think any of them was his. And according to, I guess, what the mother had said, the mother was trying to tell the daughter what he was involved in or what he had done in the past. So I'm assuming he probably sold this lady a bunch of bullshit.
I'm assuming, right? Very manipulative. And
Yo, imagine he picked her because of the kids too.
Oh, maybe, right? Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
That does make sense.
I mean, it's horrible that these other people are dead, but like at this point, it's like, kudos to him for blowing his own brains out.
At least he did that.
Yeah.
Fuck. No, for real. That's a good point. Honestly, maybe he zeroed in on that woman to pursue a relationship with because she had teenage children, and that's his preference.
Wow.
For real. And then, like, also, too, he was manipulating that girl from jail, even with those texts, right? The minor that he was involved with, and making promises like, when I get out, I'm going to this and that, and I'm going to, straighten up my life. And
it's probably just some perv selling anybody a bullshit story and getting it.
Right. Well, at first I thought maybe he's in love with that girl and that he wanted to get rid of his family, and that's why he killed them. But then it seems maybe some more information came out to the mother's attention, and that started a conflict. God, either way.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
Maybe we'll find out some more. But,
yeah.
I don't think it'll be on the news since it hasn't been yet.
Right. And then doesn't that make you think sometimes too, like these cases, like this seems like a real case, like not like a false flag type of thing, that these real crimes don't get the publicity that they should probably, like when we hear about an event over and over and over in the media, that's probably because it's a manipulation of some sort or driving some agenda. Like this is literally just like a tragedy of a perverted, fucked up person, and these poor people were brutally murdered. So it's not really that newsworthy because it doesn't serve any particular narrative. I don't forget what we were recording recently, and then I think I brought up that I was at somebody's home who works in the legal system in Toronto area, and she was telling me that on the cases she's worked on, the ones that have a sexual element to them, especially including minors, judges often rule in favor of the perpetrator because they are often involved in like weird, fucked up sexual shit
themselves. Yeah.
They don't want like these cases getting too publicized or like too talked about, or they sweep this shit under the rug on purpose. So that could be part of why it's not that widely reported. Like, why is it not on like, national news, or it just seems to be to the local broadcasters, and that's it.
I mean, I will agree. I do think this is a topic that is swept under the rug a lot, and should be, I guess, in our faces a little bit more, because I do think this stuff does go on 100 times worse than people probably even think.
Yeah.
So, not discrediting, not shining light on these things. I just, sometimes people do go overboard as well.
Well, honestly, I'm glad you shared it with me, because I was like, nope, my kids are never sleeping over ever. I've always been apprehensive about it. But I was like, unfortunately, like if now I'm prepared with the answer, if any parent asks me, oh, can so-and-so sleep over? I'll be like, we just have a no sleepover policy in our family, period. That's going to be my answer. Because you just never fucking know what people are up to. Sorry.
You're like, I'm going to need your government name here. Write that down on this pad. I'll be right back.
I need to run your name with my cop friends. Sorry.
Let me go check the fucking registry website first.
Avoid that whole conversation and just be like, we have a no sleepover policy in our family. Period. Sorry.
So I guess that is one thing people can take away from this. Maybe actually,
right.
Google the parents of people your kids are sleeping over at.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, too, these kids had already been at their house multiple times without any incident. So,
I mean, the whole situation is so screwed up because the guy shouldn't have even, in my opinion, you should not have been out in the streets anymore once you got that other charge.
Period. Yeah.
So, I mean, that, and I guess, just parents thinking or being manipulated and thinking someone's a good guy and don't realize who they're handing their kids over. It's a very sad, tragic situation that I just thought was very interesting, and I wanted to cover it as a true crime because I didn't hear anything about it. So, thank you very much for jumping on and covering that with me. Oh, yeah, that is the end of another NY Patriot, I guess, true crime episode. Until the next one, everybody be well. Later.